Hello everybody, my name is Jen Evans, and I am digital volunteer project officer for CrowdCymru. I was here last year presenting in person to you about the launch of this wonderful pilot digital archives volunteer project, and this is an update on what we've been doing for the last 12 months. However, for anyone who hasn't heard of the project, I will begin with a brief recap. Everything that our volunteers do is online. They work on a bilingual digital crowdsourcing platform created and supplied by the National Library of Wales. This allows remote volunteers anywhere in the world, as long as they have online access and a suitable device, to work on the digital collections put forward by the 3 project partners. And these partners are Glamorgan Archives, Gwent Archives, and Cardiff University Special Collections and Archives. The purpose behind the project is basically to enhance these digital collections because archive services across Wales hold millions of irreplaceable records, but many are only minimally catalogued and therefore can be difficult to identify and to find. The point of this project is to harness the knowledge of individuals in communities across Wales, to harness, to enrich our collective heritage for the benefit of current and future generations, locally, nationally and globally. CrowdCymru is funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, originally for 12 months, which would mean we would have ended in mid-July, but fortunately we were invited to apply for an extension and we were successful. So now we are up and running until the end of November. Now I will very briefly just remind you of the wonderful collections that the project partners put forward for this project. And everything basically that I'm showing you, I think, has most likely now been completed. Gwent Archives put forward this lovely historic photographic archive from the Newport Rugby and Athletic Club. This was put forward for tagging and describing, and I think this one is probably about 99% completed. These images start as early as 1884, which is when the club was created. And even though the collection does contain mostly rugby and athletic related content, it also includes other subjects, as you can see here. Here you can see one of these, the images from this project. You can see how it appears on the platform. And here I am in the process of entering individual names. I can do this because very conveniently they have been listed below the image. So all I do is to create a box around the relevant head, enter the name, click save, and the name and image are now permanently fused together. At the end of the project, all these newly improved records will be returned to the archive's online catalogue, so future searchers can benefit from all the added tags and descriptions. Glamorgan Archives put forward the Cardiff Dockland Community collection of photographs. These are portraits of individuals and groups from the Cardiff Dockland community, all taken between 1900 and about 1920. And again, these images they needed tagging and describing. Now this collection, as you can see, contains images showing a variety of people from different ethnic backgrounds, and it was very important that our volunteers describe them as accurately as possible. So the archivist at Glamorgan, Laura, she took advice and created a correct terminology list that we made sure were emailed to all the volunteers. Cardiff University and Special Collections put forward they put forward 2 collections for transcribing. This first one is the Edward Thomas Literary Archive, a personal archive of this war poet that you can see there on the right. This includes his personal correspondence, original manuscript and typescript poems. There were around 500 letters that have now been completed by the volunteers, and it was no easy task because even though his handwriting there doesn't look too bad, it was really challenging. Edward Thomas suffered with depression all through his life, and he mentions this in these letters. So we made sure that we added a sensitive content warning before people started working on this collection. And that photograph on the left, I had to just include it. I think it's a photograph of one of his children. I think this is Mavangwi, his daughter. The second collection that Cardiff put forward were the wartime diaries of Priscilla Scott Ellis, who volunteered as a nurse during the Spanish Civil War and World War II. Her diaries range from 1934 through to 1941 and entries cover her time living in London during the Blitz. All these 9 diaries have now been transcribed. We also had to add a warning to this collection as well, because these very personal diaries do contain some explicit entries, so we made sure to add a warning there too. Here you can see how the diaries appear on the collection. Basically, they appear as thumbnails. You can see under each thumbnail there are some numbers there. So we have 154 images, under one 169, under one 297. These images relate to individual pages. So this is how many pages are contained within each diary. If you click onto a diary, you will see a page of thumbnails, well, a number of pages of thumbnails relating to that diary. And if you click on one of them, this is what you see. You see all clearly labelled transcription fields appearing to the right of the image. Here we have boxes for the date, for the actual diary entry, and also tagging boxes for notable names and places. We do endeavour to upload a new project every few weeks, and we will keep doing that. So our volunteers will be working right up until the end. So that's mostly sort of everything I covered in my first talk. So now I will talk about what we've been doing over the last 12 months. And we've been doing lots, so I will just give you a few highlights. This first slide shows me out and about, armed with my trusty pop-up banner, printouts and flyers. The first image on the left is me at my first event, which was at Glamorgan Archives. I think that was absolutely my first event. The second one shows me at Insole Court in Cardiff. It was it was a Heritage Day at Insole Court, and the image on the right is my meet and discrete table at the Dementia Information Day, a Dementia Information Day that was held at St Fagans Museum of National History back in May. Now this day was fantastic. It came about from a presentation I gave a number of months previously as part of Gwent Archives' lecture series. That talk was attended by the Dementia Voice Manager for Amgueddfa Cymru's Museums Inspiring Memories project. This 3-year project, in partnership with Alzheimer's Society Cymru and funded by the National Lottery Community Fund, aims to work with people living with dementia to deliver practical ways to engage with and improve their quality of life through access to museum resources and sites. After the talk, we made contact and a dialogue was initiated around the benefits of transcribing and tagging as memory work for those with conditions like dementia. So then we were invited to attend this Dementia Information Day event. It was run in conjunction with Dementia Action Week at St Fagans Museum, as I said, in May. Our table was in amongst, as you can see here on this lovely photograph, our table was in amongst a host of other organisations, including Alzheimer's Society Cymru, Welsh Ambulance Services and Age Cymru. This extremely productive day was spent learning about the work that these organisations do, while also interacting with individuals and groups that were brought to the event from care homes. So I would show them photographs on our table and ask questions, and we would talk about them. This then led on to contact with Cardiff Wellbeing Support Service, established to boost the health and well-being of the community and ease some of the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, improving opportunities and helping those experiencing mental health challenges, social isolation and loneliness since the pandemic. This very supportive team have embraced CrowdCymru as an opportunity for socialising and learning for their clients, and this has now led on to a series of in-person workshops in hubs and libraries around Cardiff, which has been absolutely great fun. This slide illustrates some of those national events and campaigns that we've been able to connect to on social media via the complementary subject matter of the collections. For instance, we were able to celebrate Black History Month by sharing images from the Cardiff Dockland Community Collection. For World Mental Health Day, we shared images of the Edward Thomas Collection and so on. Campaigns like Local History Month, International Women's Day and Adult Learners Week carry brilliant hashtags, and you can be sure of a good uptake in engagement. And the Explore Your Archives monthly hashtags are an absolute blessing, with prompts that make posting content so much easier. Publications, this incredibly busy slide, and I do apologise if it's making your eyes go a bit weird. This slide illustrates our efforts for publication, and we haven't done too badly. I'd like to think we've done the important archive sector nationals, but we did also make an effort to go further afield, and we sent requests to a number of international Welsh societies, and we were successful with Ninau, the North American Welsh newspaper, you can see down there on the left, and also the Welsh Society of Manitoba in Canada. We also had a small entry in the Who Do You Think You Are magazine back in January as part of their Websites to Watch feature. And actually, we are due to be interviewed this November to be included in their celebration to be included in their Celebrating Your Projects feature. So that's going to be really exciting. We've been supported by ARCOOL right from the very start of the project. They invited us to publish a series of blog posts on their website. I've done 4, and there'll be one more before the end of the project. And they also included us in their Into the Archives report for 2023. But we also collaborated with the Archives and Records Association UK and Ireland with articles in their ARC Members magazine. We also recorded a podcast for their Outside the Box series, and we have a forthcoming blog post that will appear on the website. Now, while I've got a little bit of time, I should tell you about the very handsome and beautifully dressed young man that you can see on this magazine cover, and whose image you've probably seen a number of times. This is one of the standout images of this project, really. It's from the Cardiff Dockland Community Collection that I showed you earlier, and he's been identified. He was identified before the project, actually, by the Historic Dock Project. They identified him as Samuel Benjamin Sawyer, but his story isn't a happy one, as in 1942, which was probably about 20 to 25 years after this photo was taken, he was robbed and killed after locking up the club where he worked, which was a club called the Big Apple that was situated in Bute Street in Cardiff. So not a happy story, but how amazing that we are talking about him today and looking at his portrait. We loved it right at the beginning. We chose it to go on our flyers and pop-up banners right at the beginning. ARCOOL chose it for their Into the Archives cover, and ARA here, they chose it too for their magazine cover. I also tweeted it last year, and it was the only tweet that went a bit bonkers, with 89 retweets and 166 likes. So this is quite an exceptional image in many ways. Have we achieved our goals? Well, the National Heritage Lottery Fund set us a target to sign up a minimum of 50 volunteers, and to have amassed a minimum of 1,000 hours work by the volunteers on the platform by the end of the project. And I'm pleased to announce that we currently have 90 volunteers on our books, and I'm not sure right now of the exact figure of hours spent working on the platform, but I know that we've definitely surpassed the 1,000 hours. Have we learned lessons? Well, of course we have. This is a pilot project after all. I would say that the main 5 ones are: do not run out of content for the volunteers to work on. Always make sure there's something there. Do not promise what you have no control over delivering. And that's a really very hard one not to do. Never assume that volunteers know more than you think they do. This was a lesson I learned this through numerous training sessions. My fear of patronizing, I think, resulted in some emails received that would request another session or would ask some very basic questions that I did not cover. I think it's therefore far better to assume that a volunteer knows nothing and begin from there. Even if certain high-functioning volunteers might feel frustrated at having to sit through the basics, it is far worse to lose a volunteer who wouldn't feel adequately supported, or up to the job. Number 4, I would say, always give volunteers plenty of opportunity to socialize with one another, and not just with me, the project officer. I did create a Facebook page specifically for volunteers to engage with each other, but a lot of our sign-ups, sign-up volunteers didn't use Facebook, didn't want to use it. So even though I kept in touch with them, with a weekly email, and we did do some online socials, they did miss out, I think. So in hindsight, I should have scheduled a regular series of online socials, maybe at the same time every month right through the project. That would have been a really good thing to do. And number 5, I would say, you won't get everything that you want. But if you put all the small wins that you get together, they tend to add up to almost everything. Just think about it in a different way. That was a big one for me. I cover these lessons in more detail in our project handbook. This is the cover here. It's almost finished. The first half of it is a manual on how to support volunteers using the digital platform. So it's filled with lots of screenshots and directions. And then the second half contains quite detailed project management notes. Once this document is finished, it will be translated and then circulated to anyone who wants to see it. So there you go, that's me done. Now, I know by simply sending this recording, I can't answer any questions, but if there are any, please email them to me and I will be delighted to answer. Thank you very much indeed.